This right next to me is the Honda CR-V, the HEV version, which in simple terms is the top grade hybrid version of the CR-V, which means it is aimed directly at the medium SUV benchmark, the Toyota RAV4. So why would you consider this? Well, in this review, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know, because there are some noteworthy elements about this car and some things that I'm not so sure about. So before we start, I would love it if you could like the video, share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to receive notifications every time I upload a new car review. But for now, let's get straight into the review. Let's start off with a bit of an overview about the CR-V. So this is priced between $44,000 climbing up to just over $60,000. And for the standard petrol versions, it is available in either front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, 5 or 7 seats, whereas this hybrid version is only available in the top specification, priced from around $60,000 and only equipped in a 5-seater front-wheel drive configuration. And in terms of options, there are 5 external colours to pick from, and all of them are free of charge. And in terms of key rivals, the CR-V hybrid is the type of car that competes with the Nissan X-Trail e-Power, and like I mentioned, the Toyota RAV4 hybrid, and for a plug-in hybrid alternative, the Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV. And lastly, a big thank you to Sydney City Honda for allowing me to film their demonstrator. They're very close to the CBD, and they also have a professional sales team. So if you would like to get in contact with them, I've linked their details in the description below. Okay, let's now move on to the design. So the colour of this car is finished off in crystal black, which is a pearlescent colour. And if we talk about some of the key features, we've got full automatic LED headlights, and as well as progressive indicators, along with LED DRLs, and looking lower down, LED fog lights. And this particular model trim, as you can see off the badge there, is the RS, which means it features gloss black around the grille, and as well as gloss black down below instead of the black plastic body cladding. And to signify that this is the hybrid version, the Honda logo is blue around the edges. And now moving towards the side view of the CR-V. So this model variant, the RS, sits on 19-inch two-tone gloss black alloy wheels wrapped in Michelin tyres, and opposed to having plastic on the side and as well as on the lower section, as you can see, the RS receives body-coloured wheel arch flares, and in addition to the RS trim, you have gloss black side mirrors, and if we look on top of the roof rails, and over by the third quarter, privacy glass. And now moving towards the rear design of the CR-V. So from the back, we've got full LED tail lights that look very reminiscent from previous CR-V models. And in my opinion, this is my favourite angle of the CR-V, and I think it does look very European, very much like a Volvo XC60. And of course, this being the RS, you have gloss black on the lower sections, and as well as dual exhaust tips. However, on the right hand side, there is an exhaust pipe there, but on the left hand side, you have nothing. So I don't know what you guys think of that, but write down your opinion down in the comments below and share your feedback of what you think of the overall design of the CR-V. Okay, moving on to the cabin. So before you climb inside, the CR-V receives a remote key, keyless entry, and push power start. Now, if we start off by talking about the presentation, overall this looks very similar to other Honda models that are on sale, but in comparison with the Toyota RAV4 hybrid, it definitely does look a bit more premium. I also like these air conditioning vents with this mesh grille insert. And if we move on to build quality, the door slam is nice and solid. You've also got soft touch materials on the top surface and even around the armrests and where you rest your elbow. However, looking lower down, like on all medium SUVs, it does start to get a bit durable, even on the lower sections of the doors. But overall, for the segment, it feels pretty good. And specific to this RS trim, you get red stitching along the steering wheel, and the wheel itself is also wrapped in leather and feels very nice to grip onto. There is also ambient lighting and a panoramic glass sunroof above me, and the seats are finished off in leather, complemented by red stitching. Which brings me on to comfort. So both the front row seats offer power adjustment along with seat heating, and additionally for the driver you have seat memory and power lumbar support. And looking towards the center here, we've got dual zone climate control with physical dials and buttons. And finally, the steering offers both manual, tilt and reach adjustment. And if we now move on to infotainment, it all runs off this 9-inch touchscreen, which overall is pretty easy to work out first go, and there are also some physical buttons and a volume dial on the right hand side, and as well as some buttons on the steering wheel. And if we move on to key features, this has AM, FM, DAB radio, along with USB, Bluetooth, and a 12-speaker Bose sound system. And using your phone, you've got the ability to access voice control. And in terms of smartphone mirroring, both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are both wireless, and this is what that looks like on the screen. And moving on to this 10.2 inch display, as you can see, the graphics are nice and clear, and the menu layout is configurable in terms of the information you want displayed. And if we move on to safety, we've got a reverse view camera, no 360-degree camera option, but overall this has decent quality. Additionally, there are also front and rear parking sensors, and as well as a rear cross traffic alert, and up the top here, an auto dimming revision mirror, and behind it is the radar for the autonomous emergency braking, and over on the wing mirrors, blind spot monitoring. There is also adaptive cruise control that keeps you within distance between the vehicle and front, active lane assist, which means this car also has the ability to steer itself within its lane, and finally over towards the top section, speed sign recognition. Now moving on to the drive modes, you can swap it from Eco, Normal and Sport, and this button here is your hill descent control. And finally, practicality. So over on the doors, decent door bin storage that could also fit a bottle of water. And looking towards the passenger side, a decent size glove box. And looking towards this section, you have a wireless phone charging pad along with a 12-volt socket, USB-A and a USB-C port. And looking towards the center, two small cup holders and a decent size glove box that goes down pretty deep. And finally, up the top here, a sunglasses holder, and if I click this into place, a mirror to see what is going on in the second row. Okay, moving on to the back seat. So as you can see, I've got decent knee room, toe room and headroom. You could also move the seats forwards, backwards, or recline them backwards or forwards. And in addition to other key features, we've got map pockets behind the front row seats, directional air vents and two USB-C charging ports, door bin pockets that could also fit a bottle of water, and over in the center, a fold down armrest with two small cup holders. And for baby seats, the two outboard seats are ISOFIX compatible. And behind the second row seats, two top tether points, along with a third top tether point over towards the back. And the middle seat belt also comes from the ceiling, so that is just worth pointing out if you have kids. And before we move on to the boot, you have a 90-degree door opening, which means climbing into the back is very easy. And of course, stadium style seating, so the second row sits a little bit higher like they do in the front, so you've got a clear view of what's ahead of you. Let's now move on to the boot space. So if I open this up, you get a power operated tailgate on all model grades of the CR-V, and once that's open, it reveals 581 litres of boot capacity, and with the second row down, that expands the space to just under 1,500 litres. Now, in addition to other key features on either side, additional storage along with some tie-down hooks, shopping bag hooks, a 12-volt socket and LED lighting. But it is worth mentioning that the petrol versions come with a full-size spare tyre, whereas if you upgrade to the 7-seater versions, you get a space saver, and for this hybrid version, no spare tyre, just a tyre repair kit and run flat tyres. Let's now move on to the powertrain. So the standard petrol version of the CR-V is equipped with a 1.5 litre 4-cylinder turbocharged engine, whereas this hybrid version comes equipped with a 2 litre non-turbocharged 4-cylinder engine that puts out 140 kilowatts, 240 newton meters. And in terms of the hybrid system, this is a parallel hybrid setup, which means the engine acts as a generator, but in simple terms, most of the work is done using the engine to top up the battery. And it's also worth noting that the hybrid version does not come in all-wheel drive, which means all that power is sent to the front wheels through a CVT automatic transmission. It's also worth noting that Honda Australia offers an 8-year unlimited kilometre warranty, along with 8 years of roadside assistance, and each service is every 12 months or 10,000 kilometres, and for the first 5 years, the servicing costs are capped from $199 per visit. Okay, moving on to the driving impressions, starting off with vision. I've got great visibility at the front, as well as good side vision, decent sized wing mirrors, and rear visibility is also pretty good. You've also got a decent commanding driving position, so it is easy to see over the bonnet. Now, in terms of how this drives at lower speeds, it is currently setting off in EV mode, so it's pretty quiet. Now, if we just set off on the main road, light acceleration. Well, it's not really too light, is it? And if we now move on to the steering, it's nice and light and responsive for this type of vehicle and relatively easy to maneuver around tight streets. And in comparison to other SUVs, you do have a bit more feel, and therefore it does feel a bit more sportier in comparison to the RAV4 or even the Nissan X-Trail. The suspension is on the firm side, but it's not uncomfortable by any means. It could be a bit softer, but I think that is thanks to the 19-inch wheels. Whereas if you equip this with the smaller wheels on the lower grades, I think the ride quality would be quite acceptable. And in terms of braking, they seem pretty progressive, and as you can see, the engine has shut off, so it's nice and quiet. I don't know why you would have a hill descent control for a front wheel drive car, but you've got it anyway. And if I cycle through the different drive modes, eco, normal, they don't really feel any different. However, sport, it does take off a bit quicker. So if I accelerate, there is a bit of CVT groan, and the engine noise is coming from the speakers, which means it is artificial. The throttle application is nice and smooth, so it does feel very seamless on takeoff, whereas in some hybrids it's very lurchy and very uncomfortable to drive. And in terms of active safety, the adaptive cruise control is easy to configure. It also has stop and go, so it does move forward in traffic, which is a nice feature. So overall, the drive has been really pleasant. I've actually really liked this. Is it a better hybrid than the RAV4? Well, of course, in terms of fuel consumption figures, it's not as efficient, but it's not far in the real world, and it does feel a bit more refined in comparison to the standard CR-V. And finally, fuel consumption. So Honda claims that this car can achieve 5.5 litres per 100, whereas what I'm seeing on a combined cycle is 6.7 litres per 100. So what is my final verdict on the top specification CR-V Hybrid RS? Well, it is a bit of a shame at $60,000 the hybrid is only available in the top spec, because from just over $60,000 it might be a bit out of reach for some families. And in comparison to the Toyota RAV4, which I think overall Toyota are the benchmark leader when it comes to producing hybrid powertrains, in terms of fuel efficiency, this isn't as far off in comparison to the RAV4. And I think the CR-V hybrid looks a bit better, feels a little bit nicer inside, and offers a bit more of a sportier drive. But let me know what you think of my verdict down in the comment section below, and would you buy one of these over the RAV4? And as always, please like the video, share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to receive notifications every time I upload a new car review. But for now, I will see you in the next film. Thanks for watching.